Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, the one, the only Mr. Sam Dunn. Banger TV. What's going on, Sam?
Not much, Jimmy. How you doing today?
Good, good. You know, I was reading up on you've done in the past years, and oh my God, a Gemini, a Grammy, an Oscar. Was there an Oscar in there or not?
There is no. There's no Oscar yet. We've got we won some great awards for our Hip Hop Evolution series. One of them was an International Emmy Award. So that's probably the high water mark at this point. So yeah,
that's very cool. So for everybody who doesn't know, metal, global metal, Rush, Beyond the Lighted Stage, Iron Maiden, Flight 666, sorry, and El Vivo. What's it? El Vivo, is that it?
We didn't actually end up producing it and putting it out, but we were the crew that captured it. Yeah.
Yeah, Super Duper Alice Cooper, and so on and so on. So tell me, Sam, quickly, just a quick overview. How did you transition from, I guess, playing in a band or loving the music as a fan of heavy metal to filmmaking to TV to digital?
Yeah. Well, it's a long story. I guess in a nutshell, it was just, like anything, combination of right place, right time, and meeting some talented people along the way. I think that, it goes back to our first film, Headbangers Journey. We started with an idea that really hadn't been done before and was pretty crazy for the time. The idea that you could make a smart, in-depth documentary about heavy metal music and culture, and lo and behold, it was a success, which really opened a lot of doors for us and allowed us to, establish relationships with big artists like Rush and Maiden and Alice and continue on. And now we're doing a film on ZZ Top. And, really, I guess it was about creating something that had quality and the fans liked and the musicians respected. And, it's allowed us to continue to, put out everything from series to now digital content that resonates with metal fans. I think metal fans don't have a lot of places to go when it comes to content. And so a big driving force for us at Banger is always to make sure we're creating things that is respectful of the music, doesn't talk down to the fans, and is never afraid to get as nerdy as we want.
There you go. Do you find that when you came out with the movie Metal, Headbangers Journey, that was sort of a second wave of metal? It created a second, because metal back then, if I remember correctly, was kind of a little more in the underground. And then when you came out with the movie, it brought, Bruce Dickinson back in the spotlight and Dio back in the spotlight. It just kind of brought everything to a global level.
Well, I think as I said at the outset, there's always a lot of timing involved in these things, and sometimes the timing is planned, sometimes it's not planned, and I think with Headbangers Journey, we definitely saw that metal was starting to enter the conversation again, in the sense that it wasn't just an underground thing, with Dickinson coming back and a lot of the older bands having a resurgence and a really healthy metal underground kind of forming globally. In the early 2000s, we just felt, it was basically the moment when I realized that metal is going to be multi-generational music. I think it was always dismissed as being music of a particular time, sort of 70s and 80s at its apex, and then largely forgotten. But I think what we realized around the 2000s was that now that you had kids going to see Maiden and Metallica and Priest and all the classic bands, it was like, okay, this is music that actually has staying power and is going to go through cycles. And so I guess we were just there at that time to tell the story.
Being a Canadian, I'm a Canadian, you're a Canadian, where's Canada's place in this global metal village?
I mean, Canada's, people love to play in Canada. You'll never meet a metal musician that doesn't have positive things to say about playing for Canadian audiences. We're unquestionably a metal-loving country, and probably punch above our weight in terms of like per capita love for metal. And with no disrespect to all the amazing Canadian metal bands, from Annihilator to Voivod to Cataclysm, the list will go on. We haven't really put as many bands maybe as we would like on the kind of the upper echelons of international metal, but I think that best characterizes metal in Canada. And damn it, the country is so fucking big and cold. It's a struggle, but bands seem to find a way.
Illegal downloading, has it helped or hurt metal globally?
I think I have a different answer to this question depending on the year.
Yeah, sure.
I think my opinion on this has shifted over the years, as probably it has for many people. I think the root concept that musicians will make music that's consumed for free, I think is problematic. And I think intrinsically, if we make good art, I'm a firm believer that people should be paying for it. So I think I am in the camp that worries about young music fans and the concept that good art can come for free. I think that's a psychological problem that is taking hold right now. On the other hand, from a purely pragmatic perspective, the fact that kids in Iraq and people who live in oppressive environments can access music that they love and gives them a sense of power and rebellion and gives them sense of a voice that they wouldn't be able to get if it wasn't for the internet and for downloading and for social media, etc., then that is certainly a positive. So really, it's a big question that requires a complex answer. So that's the best I can do.
Is rock and roll dead? Is metal dead? And what I mean by dead is the infrastructure that supports the band, that sort of breeds the bands and feeds the bands. Is that part of the industry dead?
No, I don't think metal is dead at all, from a musical perspective or an industry perspective. It's changed, undoubtedly. The whole music industry has changed, and metal is part of the music industry. And, although metal certainly has its unique attributes and really is an outlier in some senses, it does not lie outside the larger music industry and the changes that are taking place in that industry. But it's not dead, and I think that we're at a very interesting time in metal, because what we're going to continue to see in the next 5 to 10 years is we're going to see many of the bands that started this music and actually brought it to its commercial peak in the 80s and 90s are going to be calling it quits. I mean, Slayer is on their farewell tour this year, and other bands have called it a day. Obviously, Sabbath being the biggest example of that. And I think what I am invested in is reminding people that there's a lot more to metal than the classic bands. And if people take the time to explore and dig into the corners, they're going to discover that there is, today, some of the best metal that's ever been made is happening right now.
So May 16th is actually Dio's anniversary of his passing. I mean, I know you've interviewed him in depth. What would you say the coolest thing you found out about Dio that day when you interviewed him that you didn't know about him?
It's a good question. I mean, that interview with Dio happened 14 years ago now.
Wow.
2004. So it's been a long time. I think what I discovered about Dio at that time, and this is pretty specific, was how much of a scholar and his level of understanding about religion and the way that religion works. He was raised religiously as a young person, and I just remember when I asked him questions about the relationship between religion and metal, whether it be the symbols that get used in metal or the lyrics and how religion gets tackled in metal music. He had some of the most thoughtful responses, and I learned a lot from him there, and it made me realize that when we did Headbangers Journey, that particular chapter of the story was no longer going to just be about Satanism per se, but it was going to be broader than that. It was going to be about, well, in a much more historic sense, how has metal tackled religion over the years? That's what sticks out in my mind.
Banger TV. So what's going on? May 11th. What's happening? So you guys are the Netflix of heavy metal online. What's going on May 11th?
May 11th, we're having a live stream event to celebrate our silver award we're receiving from YouTube, which is to acknowledge that we now have over 100,000 subscribers that we've built in just around 2 years. So we're pretty proud of that accomplishment, and so the event is really meant to celebrate that, to say thanks to the metal community for watching our material, for really being a part of what we do. I think what we really love about Banger TV is it feels like we're in a conversation with the metal community, and that we are able to listen to what people have to say about what we're doing and the metal that we're covering or not covering, and hopefully respond to that as best we can. And I think it's just a chance to kind of celebrate that. And I hear we're doing a live stream event that's called that's an AMA. So I'm a little nervous about what people are going to ask me, but we'll face the fire.
So what's next? Okay, ZZ Top. You mentioned ZZ Top. What else you guys got going on?
Yeah, we're doing more episodes of our series Hip Hop Evolution, which we're excited about. We're doing a big documentary series for the CBC, which is effectively digging into the vast music archives at the CBC that go back to the 1950s.
Very cool.
And creating documentaries around amazing performances and moments that were captured in that archive. And so this is a show that covers all music genres, from rock to hip hop to country to jazz, etc. So I'm pretty excited about that, because it's I think it allows us to sort of prove that Banger, our love and our core and our DNA is metal, but when it comes to storytelling, we are capable of much more. And so yeah, that's what we're working on, and we got a few other projects in development, and always on the hustle, Jimmy. Always on the hustle.
All right, there you have it. Sam Dunn, Banger TV, Banger Films. A pleasure talking with you, Sam.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.